Okay, so let's practice. Here's my intent here. I'm going to show you that you need me to help you out. Okay, so to prove that,
why is it like that?
We call these the power of the pen or legislative powers. The governor of Wyoming has essentially the same power. The head of the executive branch, whether it's the state or federal level, has three choices. Seems really easy. Choice one should be green. Sign the bill. That act goes into effect whenever the enactment clause says it does. So basically, if you get a bill on your desk, you sign it, now it becomes law whenever that last line said it does. In Wyoming, we do the July 1st after the passage. Like the interstate speed limit's getting raised to 80, our governor signed that bill. The bottom said goes into effect the July 1st after passage. Boom, that's pretty simple. Can you please go with the program?
Damn, I did that one. Watch. Oh wait, no, that wasn't big. It's not turning red.
Click in the red to start typing.
I did, and it didn't work.
No, left arrow once.
What?
Left arrow.
It did.
Weird. You can do it yourself, I'm sorry. Now, go to your very bottom option. I know you guys are awesome at this, but you're going to be confused. So the first one that's green is sign the bill. Go to your very bottom one, which is red. We're going to call that veto.
The very bottom one?
The very bottom one, so you have 2 greens and 2 reds. And you're like, what? You said 3 options. Why are there 4 bullet points? You suck at math. No, it depends.
Well, mine's not highlighted red.
4 is going to be veto. Here's why. You're president, you get a bill. You want it to become law. You like it. Real easy. Pull out the pen. Sign your name. President Applin. Now, whatever the enactment clause says, boom, it happens. Yeah, president. Now, that's option 1. Sign it. Here's option 4. Veto it. This isn't a real thing. I just like to pretend it is because it's fun. You know how when you apply to college, you all hope you get in, right? You're like, oh, I hope to hear back. Someone accepted me. Do you ever think what the guy or lady does when they reject an applicant? Do you ever picture that in your head? Like, yeah, and it says no, and they're like, ah! And there's a giant red rejected. Right? Do you picture that? Like if I applied to Harvard or something? Ah! Rejected.
I get it.
Thank you.
You're going to break your more stamp.
Now, that seems like what you should do if you don't like a bill. I'm going to use your dear President Obama as an example of why that's not always the case. What happens when you veto is very simple. It goes back to the House it came from. If the House and Senate both can muster a 2/3 vote, it becomes law over your head. So Congress can override your veto, which is an override on Congress. In other words, the president can check Congress, who can check his check.
Well, why didn't it make it fraction?
Because every government teacher loves to brag about checks and balances. There's a really good example.
That's a really bad example.
No.
You give me one.
Why would you want a bad example? Because you need both sides.
Order.
Let the minority speak, Bo.
Says Kyle Wall.
Yeah.
Now, here's the confusing part. Hands off your keyboard, because I need to know you're listening and not monkeying. The middle 2 are actually the same option. I know. This is why some of you failed your test miserably. The middle 2 are the same. The one's red and one's green. Not because it's Christmas. Because it depends how many days are left in Congress when you choose this one. If the number is equal to or greater than 10, you can choose to ignore a bill. You just leave it on your desk. If there are 10 or more days left, it becomes law, hence it's green. Green means leads to being law. Now, conversely, if there are 7 days left in Congress's session, and you're president, and you do the same thing, leave the bill alone, it dies forever. Congress cannot override what we call a pocket veto. So these are both the same thing. Leave it on your desk. Now, if there are 10 days left on the 10th day, boom, it's law without your signature. If there are fewer than 10 days left, when the last minute of Congress's session hits, all bills go in the garbage can, including the ones on your desk. And there's nothing Congress can do about it. The next year.
But you don't have to wait for the president.
Nope. So in but here's the thing. Okay. Senator Fraser had a really good question. Can the senator, let's say, who introduced your bill, come back the next session and reintroduce it? Yes. People who've been going through the simulation of Congress, can it take a long, long time to go through the committees, the floor, pass, go to the other house, committees, floor, pass, just to get back to where it was? Like, that might take you the whole 2 years. Congress lasts 2 years on the federal level. It may never get back there. So I know this seems weird. You have 3 choices. And on your quiz, you only have 3 choices. Sign, leave it alone, veto. But it gets complicated based on number 1. You should always ask, before I tell you what to do with this, I need to know how many days are left in the session of Congress. I will always tell you that. There's also something else you need to know before you decide which one to use. So, let me show you an example. Keystone Pipeline.
Oh, this is crap. Yeah.
President Obama has used his veto power. I picture the red stamp. There really isn't one, but it's fun to pretend. 12 times. 12 times. Here's one of them. Does anyone know what happened after he vetoed the Keystone Pipeline?
It went back to Congress and it failed.
It went back to the Senate.
How'd you highlight the blue?
Here's what happened. And besides knowing that there are 10 days left in the session, here's what Obama's going to ask. How many senators voted for this Keystone Pipeline? I'm going to highlight that so you can see it. 62 yes votes. And 36?
People that abstain.
Yep. So the Senate's really easy. The magic percentage that matters here is 2 out of 3. But remember, 2/3 of senators is not 66 and 2/3 of a Bernie Sanders. You can't split a senator's vote into thirds. 67.
5 hours later. Is it really? Yeah.
So, Ms. Applin, why is that number relevant? 62.
Yeah, Ms. Applin, because that's how many people voted for it.
I know. Why do you care as president?
Because it's 2/3.
Oh, 62 is 2/3 of 100. That's interesting math. 67 is the magic number in the Senate. But do we agree 62 is close?
Yeah.
Yes, I would have to.
Now, it passed the House. Get a calculator out. On your phone or your computer, doesn't matter. It passed the House of Representatives. 270 yes votes. 152 against.
Stop it.
That's a little harder to figure out because there are 435 voting members of House. What percentage of representatives voted for that?
Hey, one of the guys.
55.
Is it 2/3 of the people that vote for it, or 2/3 of all of them?
2/3 out of possible. So abstentions don't affect
Oh,
it.
okay.
Good question, actually.
I know, man, this is the second time we've done like actual math in government class.
Wait, so a bill could pass 62 to whatever if 5 people abstain.
It's out of 435. So that should be 62%. So here is my practice question, because if you've taken the quiz, I'm not going to ask you, what's it mean to veto? Why would you sign a bill? Why would you buy those boots? No, I'm going to give you ones that you can't Google.
Oh, really?
But here's the beauty of it. You just have to decide. Do I want this bill to pass, yes or no? That answer is up to you. So, here's how the Keystone XL pipeline works. Let's all pretend together, this will make Kyle happy, we want it to pass. Here's what I would give you on the question. This bill comes to your desk. There are more than 10 days. Stop, like ACT prep. Here's what I know. If I leave it, it's going to become law, right? Now that I know there's more than 10 days, this is not an option. This is. The vote count in the Senate was 62 in favor. That's 62%, so it's close to 2/3, but not quite. The vote count in the House was 270 in favor. That's 62%, not quite 2/3. If you wanted that to pass, you look at your powers of the pen. Which one would you do? Sign, leave, or veto? If you wanted it to become law, sign. That's easy. Now, if you wanted it to fail, what should you do?
Veto.
Your college government students. Veto. You can't pocket veto.
Don't ignore it, because then when the 10 days are, it becomes a law.
You have to veto it.
Yeah.
You'd sign it too.
Yeah. When should you veto it?
After 10 days.
On the 10th day, before it becomes law, you want to take those 9 days away from Congress. Don't let them have that time. On the last day, you should veto it. Now, if you think this is interesting, please recognize, and we'll do this with another example with Obama. There's someone in the White House whose job it is to be an expert on this and say, "Dear Mr. President, this is my advice to you." I'm weird because like powers of the pen, this isn't even the coolest thing the president does. Wait till the next power. I kind of think, because I like strategy and a little bit of math, I can do fractions. This is super interesting to me. I'm going to tell you one that I really disagree with what Obama did, and I think it was stupid of him. I know why he did it, but I still think it was stupid. Now, flip the same one around. Let's say you go, okay, Keystone Pipeline. This is what Obama thinks. Don't want it to happen, right? Veto that. So here's what he really did. He vetoed it. Does anyone know what he said? Because do you think Congress wants an explanation when they get the rubber stamp veto? Here's what he said, word for word. This is from February of 2015. To the Senate of the United States, that's you guys, who passed this bill 62-36, I am returning herewith, without my approval, Senate 1, the Keystone XL Pipeline Approval Act. Through this bill, the United States Congress attempts to circumvent, work around, long-standing and proven processes for determining whether or not building and operating a cross-border pipeline serves the national interest. If you didn't know, it would go from Alberta, Canada, to Louisiana. So it goes through a lot of different states, not Wyoming. The presidential power to veto legislation is one I take seriously. Anyone know how many times he's used this power?
9.
12.
You said that at the beginning of class.
But I also take seriously my responsibility to the American people. And because this act of Congress conflicts with established executive branch procedures and cuts short through consideration of issues that could bear on our national interest, here are his 3 reasons, including our security, safety, and environment, it has earned my veto.
What's the security he's talking
And it's getting federal agents who the pipeline officers.
Energy security. Like a reliable flow of oil, basically.
He's not going to do that?
Not from foreign sources.
I mean, isn't that where we're getting all our oil, our oil sources?
Actually, when Obama took office, if you didn't know, 67% of U.S. oil was imported from other countries.
No.
It's dropped more under Obama. I know you oil people hate him. It's dropped more under him than anyone in American history. We have way more oil being produced today, and natural gas, and way less coming in from other countries. Here's what everybody forgets about the Keystone Pipeline. Whose oil goes in it? Yes. Now, I am not here to defend his actions. I'm here to give you an example. He said right there, earned my veto. Now, it goes back to the Senate. Last action taken. The Senate revoted 62 to 37. That one guy who skipped out showed up, and others didn't. That's not good enough. Dead. Now, I guarantee you, on January 21st, the senator who introduced this bill will be copy and pasting that sucker back into the Senate hopper.
Aren't they?
And a good question, like he'll reintroduce that, because there's a new session of Congress in January. I guarantee that senator has already talked to President-elect Trump and said, dude, we've got 62 votes twice on this. I know I can get it to you. Will you please sign it?
So wait.
If I could hazard a guess, I don't know that Trump has said, maybe he did. I'm pretty sure he'll sign it.
Wait, so when this session of Congress ends, January 20th, what do the senators do? Do they just like go on vacation?
Yeah, Christmas break, basically. So here's what happens. You take like your hopper. Of course, they're hard copies in the real Senate. It all gets dumped in the garbage. Everything in committee, dead. Everything on the floor, dead. Everything on the president's desk for less than 10 days, dead. So start all over.
So if they kill this,
You can't bring it back until the next session of Congress.
is it being worked on?
It has to get authorization from the federal government.
So then why are there riots?
No, that's a whole different pipeline.
Oh, that's the act.
That's a little piece of one.
It goes through one little reservoir.
But doesn't it connect into
No.
the Keystone?
There are different
I
parts
thought
of...
that was a section of the Keystone.
Okay, there are different parts of what's known as the Keystone Pipeline. Like this was the Keystone XL. I am not an expert on this stuff.
I just thought the access went, or was part of the Keystone.
That's like a branch off of it, but North Dakota can do what they want in their state. If you build one, let's just look at
So
that.
didn't each state pass off their own section of access?
Yeah, but where does it end up connecting to? A foreign country, so you need Congress. It goes into
So you could go across. So you could go across the United States by state, but once it got to the border,
But don't you
then you
have
have to have Congress.
And that's what he's saying, yes. Okay, let's just look at this.
It goes right around it, yeah. But they're saying it's like a burial ground right next to the reservation. I just don't think it's information.
Because they don't have pipeline to their house, their sewage lines.
Okay. Alberta sits on top of Montana.
Yeah.
If you've heard of the tar sands, basically it's really viscous, thick oil. Here's the problem with that. And when you put it in a pipeline, you guys know what viscous means, right? It's like gooey instead of liquid. Yeah, it doesn't flow so hot, and it's hard on the inside of pipelines. I am not here to tell you what I think, because I really don't have an opinion. I don't know enough. Obama said that's hard on the inside of pipes.
So it's going to end up busting sooner than later.
And I'm going to air...
Pull it. Well, that's why you have the president pull it down.
Of course.
No, it's like no comment.
What matters is how do you use that power if you're the president? Okay? If you want to see, Mr. Hansen, you can just bring up this whole big thing. It does not go through Wyoming. It goes through the Dakotas. But when you connect into a foreign country and go through multiple states, that's why Congress had to basically give them permission to build it. Now, I'll tell you this. No matter what you think, there's a new president in 2 months. There's a new Congress in 2 months. That already passed once. It just needed a signature, but it got a veto. Okay? Now, here's the next one. Obama has issued those vetoes 12 times. Here's the more important number. What percent of those have been overridden? Here is an assumption we have to be able to agree on. I don't care what you think. Trust me, I know this. That number is an indication of weakness. When U.S. history professors write your chapter in a textbook, President Hatcher, here's one of the things that will be in there forever. How many of your vetoes got overridden? And how we see that in political sciences. How many times did Congress muscle you up? It's like, I don't care if you want it or not. We're shoving it down your throats. Two-thirds vote, boom, it's law. Once that has happened to Obama. Does anyone know what bill he vetoed was overridden?
Terrorist attack on the Twin Towers. Oh yeah, about the people being allowed to sue the other country.
Yep. This is one that I will tell you my opinion on, and I'm going to show you this. Justice Against Sponsors of Terror Act of 2016. Now, you'll notice this about real bills. Justice Against Sponsors of Terror? How could you vote no on this? Like, wow, that's a wonderful name, right? It was passed through the House and the Senate. It came to Obama's desk. Now, they only did a voice vote because it wasn't even close. Here's my question to you. If this bill came to your desk with the following numbers attached, 15 days left. Now, stop. Why does that matter? Well, you can, but what'll happen? It'll become law without your signature. There's no pocket veto available to you. Now, before you decide, 97 senators voted yes. 348 representatives voted yes. Get your calculator out. What percentage of the House voted yes?
87.
Boom. We know that's way more than 2/3. Just ask Siri or Google and they'll tell you.
So what is this?
So, 348 reps voted for it. So you go 348 divided by 435.
48 divided by 435.
I've outsourced my math to my phone too. I know Trump doesn't like outsourcing labor, but
Did you see he's not going to run his company anymore?
on December 15th he said he's going to.
Like, it's just, that is a complete trust.
So here's what matters here. Does Congress already have a 2/3 vote on this bill? So, you have to know, if you want it to become law, it's really easy, sign it. If you don't want it to become law, it gets a little trickier. That, to me, looks like a override waiting to happen. Quite obviously. Like, there's no doubt. They will override you if you veto. And there are 15 days left. So your only other choice is leave it. Now, if I was that guy who got to advise the president, I'm not. I'm an idiot government teacher. Ms. Tolman, here's what I would tell you if you're the president. If you don't want this to pass, you need to let it become law without your signature. Now, here's why. Because there's already a 2/3 vote. You have a 0 in your override column, President Obama, and you only have a couple months left. Just hold out and hope you don't get too many more bills at the end. Let it become law without your signature. Here's why you would do that. Number one, it's better than getting overridden. Number two, if that goes south in the future and you pull up that bill, go it past the House, past the Senate, became law, but wait a second, the president didn't sign it. That's like saying, all right, America, I'll let you guys do this, but I'm not a part of it. So if it blows up in your face, you remember whose name is not on the bottom of it.
Oh well.
That is not what your president chose to do, so here's what he did.
Back to the breaking news now. Just moments ago, the U.S. Senate voted to override President Obama's veto of a 9/11 bill by a vote of 97-1.
Okay, people, I know I'm biased.
Guy probably just.
Okay, find out who that one guy was. Now, if I had to bet, I'd say Bernie Sanders, but I'm not sure. Justice for Sponsors of Terror Act of 2016. One senator still voted against that override. Now, people, recognize this. That chapter on your presidency that will be in every textbook forever is going to say, you not only got overridden, you got overridden 97-1. That's why I would have told him not to do that. But here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm smarter than Obama. He should have listened to me. He clearly must have had a reason to veto that despite the obvious override that was coming his way. Anyone know why? Why would he subject himself to that? That's in every history textbook forever.
You want to at least try?
Well, he's not that stupid. He knew it was never going to work. It wasn't about just trying.
Harry Reid.
Nice.
How'd you find that?
Bernie Sanders was missing.
It's the only thing worse than being a socialist. He didn't show up to work that day. I'm kidding. Okay? Harry Reid is the minority leader in the Senate.
Bernie Sanders and Tim Kaine.
So Bernie didn't vote, and Reid was the only one to vote no. Here's why Obama did that, and it's a valid reason.
What does that even mean?
Say that again. The day that you allow, Ms. Comer, the day that you allow your citizens to sue Saudi Arabia for 9/11, do you know what happened in multiple other countries?
They bumped up their defense.
That's why I said, please tell me.
Yeah, don't ever second guess yourself.
I didn't finish the question. So the day this passed, what happened in places like Iraq and Syria? Do you know, Ms. Fraser?
Saudi Arabia got mad.
Okay, not only did Saudi Arabia get mad, Ms. Applin, a bunch of other countries said if the United States is going to let their citizens sue us for 9/11, guess what Iraqis did for drone strikes and bombings that have been going on in their country since 2003? They filed lawsuits against the United States and said, okay, let's do some math. Just under 3,000 Americans died on 9/11. Tragic, horrible deaths. They were murdered? Absolutely. Okay, you are going to go move to that end. I'm not kidding. You are next. Vercingetorix. We're not there yet. That was just this flip.
Adios.
In Iraq, no one knows for sure, but some estimate 500,000 civilians have died since the U.S. invasion of 2003. So here was Obama's reasoning. Number one, this is going to open us up to lawsuits from other countries. And something else that's going to be in the history books about Obama, his nickname, if I had to give him one right now, he's the drone president. Because the use of drones overseas to take out, in theory, specific targets has increased drastically under him. Here's the problem with that. Every once in a while, you hit a wedding full of 100 civilians, and they all die. And if you're going to let your people sue Saudi Arabia for 9/11, Iraq's going to let their people sue you for blowing up a wedding full of innocent people.
He blew up a wedding, that's kind of shitty.
Well, he didn't actually do it himself, but yeah, it happened under his watch. Guys, the Doctors Without Borders
the
camp.
happiest day of their lives.
You guys have heard of Doctors Without Borders, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh, there was like a commercial the other day on the radio.
Here's a good example of this. In Afghanistan, there was a camp of doctors from a bunch of different countries who, when they get a vacation from their day job as doctors in France, in England, and the U.S., they go to Afghanistan and do free work for people. We blew up their camp and killed 16 of them with a drone. On accident, of course, but that's kind of a bad accident. Here's the problem, and Obama said this. Because the guy on the ground said, this is a terror camp, or there's a bad guy here, send me a drone and let's hit it. And you get bad intelligence, like, oh, this leader of Al-Qaeda's there, let's blow it up. Oops, it was a wedding or a Doctors Without Borders camp. So here was his reasoning. You're opening us up to those lawsuits. Plus, he said, Saudi Arabia, #1 oil-producing country on earth, one of our few good Muslim allies in the Middle East, and the one check to Iran, the Shiite majority country. Saudi Arabia is Sunni. I don't want to make them mad. So here's what he did. He said, I prioritize kissing Saudi Arabia's butt and keeping them happy with us over getting my veto overridden. That was his reason. If I were him, I wouldn't have done that. But I'm not him. I'm a government teacher, not the president. Okay? So, here's how we're going to do this one. You get that terrorism bill on your desk. There are 15 days left. 97 senators voted yes. 348 representatives voted yes. You can do one of three things. Sign it, ignore it, veto it. Here's what I need you to do. Close your eyes. This is what you have to do on your quiz. Yes. You're going to get questions like this on the quiz. Here's the practice you go through. Close your eyes. You have to first answer this question before you can pick anything. Do I want the Justice for Sponsors of Terrorism bill to pass? Yes or no? Yes or no? This is up to you. There's no right answer yet. Now open your eyes. If you say yes, stand up.
I don't know what
There's no right or wrong answer. Please come over to this side of the room if you said yes. Do you want that bill to become law, yes or no? Yes is over here. No is over here. Okay. Now that you have decided, basically, green light or red light, what do I want to do with this bill? Then you look at the chart, you look at the numbers and go, what's the best way to make that happen? Assuming you personally agree with this bill, your answer is pretty simple. What should they do? Boom. It's a law. Now, you guys have a tougher question. If they do not want this to become law, looking at those fractions and knowing there are 15 days left, they can't pocket veto, what should they do, Rachel?
Veto on the last day.
Veto it on the 10th day,
Is there a reason not to do that? Okay. What do you care more about? Your strength as president or your relationship with Saudi Arabia? Like what history books say about you or what the Saudi royal family says about you? I'm partial to history books. Saudi Arabia's going to have an impact.
Okay, I think we all know who it is.
Like whether or not we are friends in the future, you mean? And the number one oil producing country in the world. Did I spell that right? Now.
I don't know.
Change one thing. You have the same bill on your desk, the same vote count, but there are 5 days left. Does that change your answer?
No.
Sign it. Should that change their answer? What should they do?
Pocket.
Leave it alone. Now it becomes a pocket veto. It cannot become law.
We won. No, just kidding. We
No.
lost.
That's gay.
So do you see how this is like a math problem? We give you a triangle and say, we have an isosceles triangle. One side is 3 feet long. What are the three angles? What should you say?
You're going to have to do some calculus.
More information, please. You need to know how many days you have in the session. And you need to know the vote count in the House and Senate. What is the magic fraction? 2/3. The closer to 2/3, the more leery of a veto you should be. Do you feel like you could use the powers of the pen how you want to and accomplish your goals on Friday's quiz?
No, that's something.
It's going to be rough.
The yes and no does not make you right or wrong, but if you're over here and say, I don't want it to become law, so I'd sign it, wrong. If you're over here like, I love this bill, so I'd veto it, wrong. You have to pick.
Huge mistake.
Huge mistake. Huge. Over the wall instead.
I should rewrite the quiz to put a wall question.
Please do.
I haven't yet. Maybe I will.
Run.
Okay, find your seat. Everybody's favorite powers are last. After these, we will take a break.
My favorite
Raza, sit down. Raza, sit down. Raza, you are being insubordinate.
Raza, you can walk it.
No. After our break, we'll move and you can sit where you'd like. I'm going to remind you, again, you are the first students at Big Piney High School to take this as a senior class in history, as far as I know. And you get to take this at a very opportune juncture in history. Because you might say, whoa, the president doesn't have judicial powers. He's not on a court. He's not on a jury. He's not a lawyer. Raise your hand if you've ever played Monopoly, a.k.a. had a huge fight with your family after a board game. You have never played Monopoly.
What?
For the love of capitalism, will someone please invite her over to play Monopoly? Who?
Matt will.
Dude, I get intense. Like, I play it all day.
Okay, what might you ask, Mr. Raza? Does Monopoly have in common with judicial powers of the president? Of all the cards that you can draw, everyone but Caitlin should know the answer. Of all the cards you can draw from the middle, what's the best one you can get?
Get out of jail free.
Get out of jail free card. Does anyone ever wish that was a real thing?
Yeah.
It is. It is a real thing. The president has an unlimited stack of those. So does the governor of Wyoming and every other governor.
Because that one guy got stuck in there. Could get out, but that one guy doesn't want to.
Boy, me. Now, I already tried the White House. I'll try them again during our break. Yeah.
What?
To ask the president to use one of his get out of jail free cards, but it was busy because a lot of other people are asking.
Who do you want out of jail?
I'll show you.
Me?
Okay? We call these clemency powers. I'll put it on speakerphone, but it's going to be busy, I bet.
Well, why don't we keep calling?
The president cannot put people in jail. Only the judicial branch, a judge and a jury. But, Mr. Hanson, you're going to come sit right here. Ooh. Now that it's not your birthday.
Right here. Can you put those in my backpack? I got you.
Please?
I have a question then. Thank you, maybe you have to do with this.
Then wait until I break.
Do you have charger?
I have one right here with some of my...
Not making this bad.
Have you ever talked to the president on the phone?
No.
Have you ever been able to ask him your question?
Why? It's always something.
Not digging this one.
I have the cell phone number of Joe's special assistant, the President George W. Bush, just no longer My brother got to meet the president.
Why don't we get talk to the president?
Because he was the governor of Montana Boys today. He got to go to Montana Boys Nation.
Wait, which brother?
Twin.
You get green or blue?
I went to wrestling practice instead. In retrospect, I should have been the president.
Wait, which president?
George W.
Oh, yeah, you way should have.
W.
Now, here's how these work. There are 4 of them, as you can tell from your list. But here's what I need you to do. I need you to add a 5th one that's not really one. So you got 4 bullet points, right? Return from the 4th one to make a new one.
I delete. Yeah.
Yeah, delete.
No, go space return. Go space return, trust me. Jones knows.
Yeah, it worked.
Jeremy knows everything.
Here's your 5th option, and the one that Bo is going to use the most.
Space return.
What's return?
Enter.
Guys, it's the same thing. Here's the 5th option. Do nothing.
The old ones do.
Type this in as your fifth one. Do nothing.
Why am I giving you that one? I want to do something.
Wait, the fifth one should say do nothing.
The fifth one should say, do nothing. See how that's not really a power, but it's a choice?
Oh my God, I messed up.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's the most often used one, even by Obama.
Sounds about right.
No.
Now, the first one you can use is a reprieve. You probably want to spell that right, Reprieve. You can basically take out a sticky note, put a guy's name or a lady's name, put reprieve, sign it, just like an executive order. But here's what this does. Have you ever used that word in context before?
No.
Yes.
Okay, you have a test on Friday. Ask me for a reprieve. Okay, we'll take it on Monday. I just gave you a reprieve. You still get the same thing. You just get to wait.
So they postpone their sentence?
So, and guess which sentence is the only one you should ever use this on?
Death.
Death. Here's an example. John Smith, convicted of first-degree murder, sentenced to die in 1983. No DNA ever used at his trial. He writes, you a letter, President Hansen. I never got DNA testing from the crime scene. Can I please have one more year to do those tests and appeal? If you feel like it, it's totally up to you, you could give him a reprieve and basically delay his sentence. That's the only time you ever use a reprieve. It means you get the same punishment, you just can wait longer to get it.
Wait, what if they prove innocent in that reprieve?
Oh, we got 3 left. Be patient, my son.
What if he gets proved innocent during his reprieve? Does it still
So,
have punishment?
Then you get to appeal to a judge and say, look, DNA exonerates me. That happens all the time. Tommy Pinlock asked, what happened if I got sentenced to prison in the state of Florida and was there for 30-something years and then DNA proved it wasn't me? Well, a judge lets you go, and you can't get those 30-something years back on your life, but you got $6 million. Now, here's the bad news. Exactly. What is your freedom worth, people? I would not trade 30-something years in the prime of my life for any sum of money. But what else can you do for the guy? Oops, we put you in prison for 30 years. Here's a few million. Now go home and buy a Ferrari.
That's our bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
My bad.
But here's why you give them a reprieve. This also happens all of the time. The guy who got convicted without DNA evidence, sentenced to die, no reprieve is given. He's dead. And then the next year we test the stuff. We're like, oops, that was the wrong guy. Nothing you can do about it once he's dead.
Can't even give him money.
No, or his family. So, this is to delay a death sentence. Here's how you would use it. Give someone on death row a chance to exonerate themselves. Other than that, you shouldn't use this. It doesn't work on anything else. Now, if you give someone a pardon, that's your second option. That, my friends, is a get-out-of-jail-free card. In fact, it's better, because not only does a pardon let you out of prison if you're still in it.
Cleans your record.
Yep. It's a magic marker for your criminal record, and the president can remove any federal conviction. So, fun example, in the 1960s, a guy got charged with mutilating U.S. currency. Did you know, like, if you put the quarter on the train tracks and let it get run over, that's a crime? That's basically what he did. He got a $20 fine and 2 years of probation in the 60s. Obama gave him a pardon. They're like, well, dude, he wasn't in jail anymore. Yeah, but he took it off his record.
Why did they do it now? Like, that's like...
Because the
Obama
president
gave him a pardon?
Yeah.
From the 60s?
Yep. Now, this is the strongest clemency power, because not only, let's say the guy was in prison for something serious from the 60s, this lets you out of prison, takes it off your record. Here's why that matters. In the state of Wyoming, if you are convicted of or pled guilty to a felony, if that's on your record, you have to put that on every job you apply for, every college you apply for. You cannot own or possess a firearm, and you cannot vote. A judge can reinstate your voting, but you have to go get a judge to do that. So having a felony is like a super big deal. Presidents can remove any federal charges from your record and let you out of jail. So let's say that guy in death row, you actually think he's innocent. You go, well, reprieve, no. I'm going to pardon him, let him go home today, and take it off his record. That's a very, very powerful thing to do. Presidents tend to hesitate to use this much. Fun fact, when I first started teaching government, Obama just got elected. I've only taught government during the Obama administration. It's going to change in 2 months. Every single year, I've got to this day of class 7 times. Here's how the talk went. It used to go this way. He uses these less than any president in American history. That's how this day always ended. Now here's what's cool about history. You can commute a sentence. President Obama has now commuted the sentences of over 1,000 people. More than the 11 presidents who preceded him combined. The last group of kids I taught government to are freshmen in college right now, or janitors at Loaf and Jug, or whatever they're doing with their lives. Obama had only used his clemency powers 19 times 2 years ago. He just did a couple, 79 commutations last week. He is now over the 1,000 mark. More commutations than the 11 presidents before him combined. Now, commutation's real simple. Shorten a sentence. So if somebody had life in prison and you want to go, hey, I think 25 years is actually fair, but it stays on their record if you commute their sentence. Keep in mind, if you think the death penalty is too strong and you would prefer life in prison, you would choose commute the sentence down from death to life in prison. Does anyone know who the heck are all these people that Obama is commuting their sentences and pardoning?
Democrat.
Liberals. Immigrants.
Okay. 1,014 people have received clemency from your president. Here's the most famous one. Sharonda Jones. I've been reading about her. She just got pardoned. No. She's from Texas. So, she was a single mother in Texas. She was arrested after she purchased cocaine. She purchased it from a drug dealer, and the FBI who prosecuted her accused her of then conspiring to turn and sell it. She didn't buy it for herself, allegedly. She bought it and then was going to turn and sell it. She had a concealed carry permit and had a pistol. Now, any crime you commit with the gun is always going to give you a sentencing enhancement, even if you can legally carry the gun. You can't do it while you're committing a crime. Her first criminal offense of her entire life was this drug charge. She received life in prison with no chance of parole.
Let's go.
Do you see why we need somebody to possibly sometimes have some clemency power? Because here's what's crazy about federal drug laws. The judge had no choice but to give her life in prison. It's not like sometimes you go, oh, the judge is just screwing me over because he doesn't like me or some stupid excuse. That's rarely valid. This time the judge said, hey, Sharonda, sorry, all I can do according to the federal law, life in prison with no parole. Give your little kid a hug because you're never going to see him again except through the glass window.
Unless the kid goes in there with her. Eventually.
He helped her.
The accomplice.
Yeah.
Girls and guys together.
Huh?
She sold it.
In prison.
Maybe it's
Stay in. Have you ever seen TV shows?
It sounds like
Well,
you're
girl should be a foreign drug lord in Colombia.
Along with Rex Bennett.
Huh?
I don't know if this is going to load. She has her own website.
Yeah.
So the accomplices to
IamSharondaJones.org. President Obama commuted her sentence down and let her out of federal prison. Now, she tweets the president. If you don't follow him on Twitter, not president-elect, real president, at POTUS. Here's what's funny. Guess who gets that Twitter account? Trump gets the password to the POTUS Twitter account on January 6th. Did you know that? Like, I'm being serious. Obama's giving him my Twitter handle.
I wonder what the password.
Make America great.
I bet Joe Biden sets it to something funny before they turn it over.
I hate Donald Trump.
My favorite one,
Oh, what?
I know you've seen all the Joe Biden memes. I'll make this into one. Biden said, "Hey, Barack, I reset the Wi-Fi password before Trump came in." Have you guys seen that one? It says, "I love Mexicans." I thought that was funny. Maybe he'll do something like that with the Twitter account. Now she sits at home, free, and tweets the president, "Can you please give clemency to these people?" Here's the thing. The president has complete power to do that. If you want to read her story, her son, her child.
Clanisha?
I hate to assume gender because Walton gets mad at me when I do. Her child was 8 months old, and she was 23 years old. She got life in prison. Obama let her out and said, "Listen, and here's who all these people are that have been getting commutations from him. Non-violent drug offenders." So, like, okay, thank you. I assumed, but I didn't want to assume.
Clanisha.
So wait, if we go out and buy coke with guns and stuff, then we'll all of a sudden become like awesome,
pardoned?
charitable people who help other people who buy drugs get out of prison.
Because that's what you want.
Because that's what's
A bunch of drug
Please do not confuse me informing you of something with me endorsing that thing.
Well, I'm just wondering if that'd be a good life choice to go buy coke.
College is coming up. I mean, there's other routes, obviously.
I don't mean to buy that.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to compare that number, under Obama, 1,014 people have gotten clemency from him. Now, here's what history tells us. Graph your clemency power usage over the course of your presidency. What happens the last couple of days?
You let out workers up a lot.
Ever heard of a midnight pardon?
Oh, yeah.
The night before you leave the White House, January 19th, while Biden's changing the Wi-Fi password, guess what Obama's going to be doing? I guarantee it.
Letting everybody out.
Clemency powers.
Put it on the chair, back on the street.
Yeah, because buying cocaine is terrorism.
No, we're talking about two different charges.
It's a gateway drug.
Now, one of your classmates asked an incredibly insightful question earlier today. He said, "So wait a sec. You said governors get these powers too with state laws, right?" Yes. He said, "So if everyone in Nevada who's in jail for a marijuana charge, starting January 1st, recreational marijuana will be legal in Nevada because the people voted to do that in a referendum. You're telling me every single person in Nevada who's there for a marijuana charge has to write a letter to the governor and say, 'Please, can I have clemency?' No, because the last power is to grant amnesty. This is take the pardon and multiply it exponentially. Instead of saying this guy, this lady, you say this crime. From this year to this year, anybody who broke that, you're pardoned. All of you. Now, I sincerely doubt the governor of Nevada will do that for marijuana people, but he could. Same with California. They legalized it too. Please recognize, you can say what you want, and when you're president and governor, you can use your clemency powers how you so choose. But you must admit, it's a little bit crazy to be sitting in a Colorado jail right now, having been convicted for marijuana possession 5 or 6 years ago, and go, wait a sec, if I go out and do the same thing I did today, I wouldn't get in trouble, but here I am serving a multi-year sentence.
What about when like the drinking age changed from 19 to 21?
Do you see why? I know everyone goes, why the heck does the president need these powers? Because there are some scenarios where if our views as a society change, that law is no longer a law. Well, okay, I know it was illegal when that guy did that thing that got him in here, but maybe you should cut him a little bit of the break. Now, here's the beauty of it. You don't have to. That's why this is such an interesting question. President Obama has the sole power to wield this for 2 more months. Then one Donald Trump will have the sole power to wield this. There's nothing a court can do. The Senate can't override him and put him back in prison. If you haven't followed Donald Trump's Twitter account, last week when Obama pardoned 70-something more people, Trump said, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, these are terrible people who will be walking your streets. Something like, sleep safe tonight, America, sarcastically. Now, to compare Obama to some past presidents, does anyone know the last time amnesty was seriously used by a U.S. president?
1934.
You're in the right time period. You know what law a whole group of people, potentially like 1 million Americans, were given?
Oh, some Great Depression or something.
Vietnam War era. Now, here's the thing. Amnesty is a group of people. Nixon did get a pardon, but amnesty is a whole group of people. Yep. Yep. The last time this was seriously used, that like makes it in the history books, draft dodgers from Vietnam were given amnesty. So instead of saying every single one of you asked the president for a pardon, the president can say anyone who dodged the draft from 1968 to 1973, you can come back, you will not be prosecuted. That's amnesty. Who's the big group today that Mr. Walton says is controversial that you could give amnesty to?
Black Lives Matter.
No, they haven't committed any crimes.
Illegal immigrants.
Illegal immigrants. Now, I'm not telling you, stop going, you would do that. I'm not saying what I would do. Could a president give amnesty to a whole group of people who broke a law, like an immigration law?
So you could just say he.
Now, is President Trump going to do that? Of course not. Did Obama do that? No, he didn't.
Not yet.
The DACA executive order is far short of amnesty. He never gave anyone amnesty. But they could. Now recognize, Obama does have 2 months left. I'm not saying he would use the amnesty power in that way, but he could.
But they still wouldn't be citizens, though, would they?
Nope.
Just legal.
So here's what amnesty means. You will not get charged with that crime that you clearly broke. So stop being afraid. The cops aren't going to get you. We won't charge you with anything.
Then what are you? You're not a U.S. citizen.
You can't be deported.
You're just not going to pay taxes.
So recognize between illegal alien and citizen there are multiple steps.
So you're a tourist.
For the first 6 months you're here, anyone can come without a visa. Yeah.
No, but if he does amnesty to all of them, then what are you?
Then what are they?
That's part of the reason he hasn't. I don't know that anyone knows.
Still illegal?
Because you can be. You can be a resident alien. You can be a legal permanent resident, so you know the green card thing. Here's what a green card means. I can live here forever and work here. I'm just not a citizen. Like, I can't vote, but you can't deport me. Then citizen is the highest level. You cannot give citizenship to a whole group of people. Congress has laws about the process you go through. Okay? Now, let me give you some historical context. Obama, 1014. Do you want to see what some past presidents have done?
Yeah.
And here's what's crazy. I hope in 4 years I'm still here teaching a group of kids that are now probably 8th graders. At the end of Trump's first term, I don't know if there'll be a second, but there'll be a first. I can't wait to see what he does. Obama, 1014. George W. Bush, 200.
W.
Bill Clinton, which he was also an 8-year president, 459. Now, H.W. was only president for 4 years. 77 people got clemency. Ronald Reagan, an 8-year president, 406. 8.
You just said 8 years.
Jimmy Carter, 566. Most famously, unconditional amnesty for anyone who dodged the draft. So even though Jimmy Carter only gave clemency to those individuals, you can make an argument that's like tens of thousands of people right there in one. That's the last time a president really used amnesty.
So where it says like President of Confederate States, why are they doing amnesty to people like that that have been gone for however many years? Like, what does it matter now?
Was there any controversy about the Confederate flag in this country lately?
Yeah.
The guy who led the Confederate States of America, he's kind of like, he called himself the president of the Confederacy. A Southern president pardoned him.
But it didn't. It's kind of weird that they even worry about it.
Yeah.
So, you can sure Google like Bill Clinton clemency, Barack Obama. How the quiz will work, really simple. I'm going to give you a case, and I'll tell you right now, one of them is a spy. One of them is a drug dealer. You're the president. They're going to tell you their story. It's true. You can Google them after your quiz. You have 4 powers. But remember, I'm not telling you have to give anybody clemency. That's why you put the 5th one on there first. You can also tell that guy, sorry, nothing. That's a choice. Okay? So like Sharonda Jones. Jesus is not going to pardon her. Only Barack Obama can do that on earth.
Jesus can take her.
Yes. Obama can't do that.
Hillary can.
If someone came to you and said, I have no prior conviction and an 8-month-old daughter, I just got life in prison for cocaine possession and conspiracy to distribute, would you give her one of these 4 powers or nothing? Tell your neighbor, and then you can go have your break.
Nothing.
Life in prison for cocaine possession, first offense. Would you give Sharonda Jones clemency? Well, on the quiz, I'll tell you. 8-month-old daughter, first conviction, didn't kill anybody. I'm coming. Please wait for me.
We'll be right out here with the
I won't bring the robot. Okay, here's my answer. Commute to time served.